In this lesson, we're going to use the Liquify tool to animate our water layer. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the start of some of the secondary animation that we're going to actually add into our scene to make it look like this is actually footage that was shot. So it's not going to look exactly like that. It's always going to have a little bit of a diorama feel, but that's just going to help add some realism to our scene. So I'm going to go down here to my water layer, and I'm going to add the Liquify effect to this layer. So to get to that effect, I'm just going to bring up my Effects and Presets panel. So I'll go here to Window, Effects and Presets, and then we can just type Liquify in over here. And that's going to bring that up for me under the distort type of effect. So we can grab that and just drag that onto the water layer in our timeline. And now I'm going to set a keyframe here at the beginning of my timeline, just with my water in the place that it is right now, for the distortion mesh. So that's what's going to control any kind of distortion we create with that Liquify effect. So we'll set the stopwatch there. And now I'm just going to move forward a little bit so that my keyframe is set at a different point in time, and I can still see my water because my camera animation cuts off quite a bit of that water. So we'll just move forward a little bit, and then we can move the keyframe that is set to a later place in our timeline once we get that all squared away and figured out what we want it to look like. Okay, so just with this tool right here, this first one, which is called the Warp tool, I'm just going to keep that selected. And then I'm just going to drag across my water, just click and drag, to kind of create a little bit of a look that the waves are moving across. And it's hard to tell because this is going to be a really subtle change, but if I zoom in, you can kind of see those pixels just shifting here to the right. So we're going to kind of have the idea in this scene that maybe the wind is blowing from left to right. So anything we do, we kind of want to operate under that assumption. So I'm just kind of continuing to drag these pixels right there. So now if we scrub, we see that it looks like the water in our scene is kind of just flowing to the right side. So now I can drop this down and look at the keyframes that I've set, and a quick way to do that is just to select the layer and hit the U key, and then I'll grab my second keyframe. Just come up here and grab that selection tool, and we'll move this to the end of our timeline. So make sure that's on our last frame, and now we can RAM preview that and see what our water looks like as it's flowing. Now this may be a little bit too subtle of a change, so you may want to go back in and add some more. You just want to make sure that you do it on that same keyframe so that you don't get a strange kind of pop look in your animation. So it really looks like the water's flowing over here, maybe a little bit less on the left side, so I can go back in. I'm going to move this keyframe back in time so that I can still see the water. And then we'll just grab that warp tool again and add a little bit more distortion to kind of the area that we see that wasn't moving quite as much in our composition. Just make this a little bit more prominent. Okay, let's move this keyframe to the end again, and now zoom back out and take another look at the RAM preview. I'm going to just look at this at 50%. And we can kind of zoom down there and just look at the water. That's moving a little bit more realistically. We kind of see right in there we're getting some more movement along our shoreline. And we don't have to watch this all the way through. We can just watch kind of about halfway. So I can just click to stop the RAM preview at any time. And that looks really great. I really like the way that that water is animating across. So in this lesson, we added some of the first elements of animation within our scene to make it seem more realistic.